Alright everybody, welcome to episode 231 of Psycho's Platters. Always powered by coffee each and every time. So, this one here is going to all be about LP finds. Yes, these LPs were found within the last 2 weeks at 2 different resale shops. Also, as an added bonus at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you a contest win that I won outside of the VC, but it's still a contest win. I'll partially open it up for you. Right off the bat here, all of this little stack of albums came from 2 Goodwills and a different, like a Good Samaritan shop. Okay, right off the bat, we're going to go from strange to what I thought was kind of cool. Hang on a second here. Get myself supported up on this. Now that helps some. Okay. All right. So right off the bat, sorry for the glare, from 1976 on Shelter ABC, Lyons and Clark with Prisms. Here's the front, here's the back. I'm going to show you the label here. I know you've probably seen Shelter records due to Leon Russell and early Tom Petty stuff, but that's what the Shelter press looks like. You can teeny tiny see the ABC records off on the side there. I gotta confess, I tried doing research. A lot of my research, no Wikipedia. Yay, I can tell you that. It was this particular piece I got, though, from the Jeff Porcaro Session World website. Because, like I said, there wasn't very much information on this. Truthfully, these 2 women, nice 2-part harmony. I can't really describe it for you, but there's a bunch of clips on YouTube. Just check any of them out. I think you actually would like the way it sounds. It's relaxing. There's no rockers. This is like quiet stuff or mid-tempo at the most. But like I said, very much not known about these 2. But this album has got lots of quality session men that music geeks like us would appreciate. That's what I wrote. You got members of the Crusaders, Larry Carlton and Joe Sample. They're on here. Steve Gadd, Wilton Felder, Ralph McDonald on percussion, Tom Scott, of course, on sax, along with Pre-Toto, David Hungate, and Jeff Porcaro are on 3 songs on this album. So, like I said, go listen on YouTube and check them out if you like that kind of stuff. It's very nice and quiet. Now, this one here, I think I had a few years back, and it somehow disappeared. John Anderson's Song of 7 from November 1980. This is the front, this is the back. Of course, this is on Atlantic Records. This is his 2nd solo album from him. 4 songs on this release here. Summer Born, Days, Everybody Loves You, and Hear It were written and demoed during the Yes's Tormato sessions in '78. Guests on this album, Jack Bruce, Simon Phillips, Clem Clemson from Coliseum, and others. It charted 143 in the U.S., but it was a top 40 album in the UK, squeaked up to 38 on that. I'm also told that if you end up getting the Yes's Tormato Deluxe reissue, that 2 of those Anderson demos are on that. So you may want to check that out on Yes's Tormato Deluxe Edition. So, Song of 7, John Anderson from 1980. This one here, cool label, I'll show you in a second. LA Express from 1976. This is the front and the back. This is actually a picture of a LA Express belt buckle. Yeah, they made one back then. This band started out in '74. Pretty much formed when they ended up doing several Joni Mitchell albums from 74, 75, I want to say. Here's a cute little inner sleeve on this about the Caribou Moose. This is technically Caribou Records, but it's Epic run as well. The original band, though, got their start with Tom Scott. It was Tom Scott and the LA Express in '74. But Tom Scott was only on the first album, and then he went off into his own thing. So on this here, you've got Max Bennett, who he got his start in the mid-'50s in the jazz world on Bethlehem Records, but ended up, of course, being a member of the Wrecking Crew. He was on some Monkees records along with a few other people. He also, though, him and John Guerin, who he plays drums, both of them also, though, played on several Zappa releases. If I remember correctly, Lumpy Gravy, Chunga's Revenge, they're both on that. And John also played with the Byrds, late or early 70s lineup of the Byrds and others. Joe Sample's on here too. Of course, I mention former Crusader, and also Robin Ford ends up taking over for guitar work on this. Robin Ford, of course, he started out, doing blues stuff, but he ends up being a really good gunslinger, and in the early 80s, he ends up on 2 songs on Kiss's Creatures of the Night. That's his Kiss connection, if you want to go that way with it. I haven't heard this yet, but I'm told that there's some decent cuts on that. Now, Donna Jo Catlady will probably be proud of me on this one. And some of you people may roll your eyes, and some of you may not. But I have a feeling, I'm just saying, this may be the only Tom Jones album I'm going to get. Tom Jones, It's Not Unusual, it says including Once Upon a Time. Here's the front, here's the back. Of course, this is on Parrot Records. I'm going to tell you something, this thing is super duper clean. Very clean indeed. Why did I end up getting this? Well, I'll tell you, it turns out that the reason why I got this ended up not being the reason I got it. It's kind of weird. In the UK, this album was actually called Along Came Jones. Came out in May of '65 and charted at number 11. On that song, It's Not Unusual, for many years, it was said that Jimmy Page played on it. And in fact, even I believed that. It turns out that it wasn't Jimmy Page. That was the reason why I kind of bought this. I only spent $1, but I'm just like, just to say, okay, well, Page is on at least this track. Not a lot of session information for this whole album at all exists. I looked around, but for at least this particular song of It's Not Unusual, Jimmy's nowhere to be found on this. Turns out that the guitarist on this is actually Joe Moretti. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He played guitar on this, and he previously was heard on Johnny Kids and the Pirates, Shaking All Over. Yeah, I never said I could sing. And later on, he also played on Chris Farlow's Rolling Stones cover of Out of Time. I've heard that one. That's actually really good. Also on this particular track, Vic Flick. I don't know if that name sounds familiar to you. He actually was also on an episode of Pawn Stars, too, selling his guitar. Vic Flick actually played on hundreds of different recordings. But you would know him, as I call him, the Mr. James Bond theme. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, he's the one that plays that guitar on that song. I love that work. And others, Andy White plays drums on that particular album. Now, no, it's not the Yes's Andy White, but he's got a Beatles connection because Andy White plays drums on They Love Me Do P.S. I Love You single. Yes. So he's on It's Not Unusual too. So you can connect Beatles to Tom Jones through Andy White. Whatever. Anyways, it's a fun little thing. So the next one here, I probably am not going to keep this because it turns out that I've got this stuff on other albums. But I found it says here 50 cents. Nope, it says $1, but I only paid 50 cents because they had half price vinyl night. That night anyway. The soundtrack from late '84 to No Small Affair, that's John Cryer and Demi Moore's film. I remember seeing that in the movie theaters, but that's not why I'm telling you about this. The soundtrack on here is what's kind of strange. I could care less about Fiona. I don't know who Chrissy Faith is. Rupert Holmes does a track. And Malcolm McLaren and the McLarenettes. Yeah, Malcolm being the Sex Pistols' former producer. I got this because it actually has 2 Twisted Sister songs and a Zebra tune. I'll Never Grow Up, From Under the Blade, and Shoot 'Em Down, which is from the Rough Cuts EP, I'm told. I don't have that EP, so I didn't know. Shoot 'Em Down, Pete Way produced that, and I'll Never Grow Up had Eddie Kramer involvement on that one. But like I said, I've already got some of this stuff, so I have a feeling I'll probably get rid of this maybe to a buddy or something. But from late '84 on Atlantic Records, this next one, I think you guys are going to like this. From '86, Rosie, Vela. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And from '86, like I said, Zazu, sorry. Zazu is the album on this, on A&M Records. Rosie ended up, she was an American model in the mid-'70s, appearing in Vogue magazine and a bunch of others. She got her start out in Texas, but then ended up going, she's got a kind of an Arkansas connection. It appears she went to the U of A. I'm not sure if it was Fayetteville, but I'm going to think so. I'm going to think it was Fayetteville in the early '70s. Ends up marrying an Arkansas musician, and then he passes, and then, well, she starts doing the modeling work. This album, the reason why I grabbed it, I normally would have passed this over at the Goodwill, but I saw who the hell was on here, and I'm going, wait a minute. First of all, it's produced by Gary Katz. Gary Katz, yeah. Who also produced Steely Dan, that's right. And I'm like, I know you're going, well, what the heck? Well, it's because Don Fagen and Walter Becker are on 3 tracks on this album. 1986, 6 years after Gaucho. You've got the Dan reunited, in essence, behind Rosie. And those tracks happen to be Interlude, Tonto, and Zazu. Don Fagen also shows up, solo of course, on 2 more tracks of this. And Rick Derringer, Tony Levin, who at that time was in King Crimson, but he also was a sessionist, is on this album, as well as a bunch of other standard high-quality session musicians. There was a second album that was actually recorded shortly after this, I'm told, in the late '80s, called Sun Upon the Altar, but it's unreleased. Could there be some Danish type material on that? I don't know. I think it needs to come out so we could hear it at least. She didn't do very much after this, though. She ended up being a backing singer on Jeff Lynne's ELO's Zoom in 2001, and actually had a relationship with him for 7 years. But like I said, if you're a Dan fan, I behoove you to get this. I'm led to believe that this thing ended up out of catalog by '90, and they issued only 1 press of a CD, and it's been out of print for over 20 years, I'm told. But Magic Smile was the hit off of this in the UK. I think it was in the UK. It was a top 30. All right, so musical Jeopardy question for you. This band had a member of Detective, member of the Sex Pistols, member of Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and 2 members of Blondie. If you answered correctly, who were checkered past, you'd absolutely be correct. I remember hearing about this band back on MTV in the mid-'80s, and I'm like, ooh, this could be good, but I never found an album until now. This one here, gold stamped on EMI America. Michael DeBar, of course, being from formerly of Detective and Silverhead. Steve Jones is the Sex Pistol here. Tony Fox Sales from Iggy and the Stooges, and then would end up in Tin Machine later. And Nigel Harrison and Clem Burke from Blondie. Now, they originally got their start in late '82. They were a covers band in New York City, I guess. This was shortly after the Blondie's The Hunter Tour, when Blondie broke up. Originally, Frank Afanti was supposed to have been, he was another member of Blondie, was supposed to have been in the band as well, and he actually was in the band in the early parts of the formation, but then he had to get out, and Tony Fox Sales came in, who of course is also Soupy Sales Kid. They stayed together through '85, when Michael DeBar replaced Robert Palmer in the Power Station. Yeah, Palmer ends up quitting before the tour even starts. Tour's already lined up. DeBar comes in and sings. I don't know if, how many of you people saw Live Aid. That's how I saw Michael DeBar, was in the Power Station. I'm going, wait a minute, what's going on here? He sang okay that day. They ended up, he finished the tour, the '85 tour with them, and they ended up actually cutting a song for the Commando soundtrack. Yeah, I don't know if it's ever been put out on vinyl or CD, but yeah, so they ended up doing, I think it's called Someday Somehow, I think is the name of the track, if I remember correctly. I didn't write it on here. But, you know what, I'd like to tell you that this album is awesome. It's not. I wish it was. And I got to admit, with one of the reviewers, it looked great on paper. It really, really did. But as far as for musically, it's average. Sorry, it's average. But I'm still glad I have it. And also playing guest appearances on this particular album, Lawrence Juber, who former member of Wings and a session guitar player as well. He played on Ringo's Stop and Smell the Roses as well on that one. And David Lindley, both of them guest on this particular album. So here's the front, here's the back. Checkered Past. And lastly, oh God, I love this album. 50 cents. Says $1 on the sticker. Paid 50 cents for this. One of the best 50-cent investments I think I honestly ever made in the vinyl community. I'm not lying here, okay? You people know how much I love all different kinds of music. I love Northern Soul. I love rockabilly. And that's what this is rockabilly. I remember seeing that they're putting a reissue on CD campaign, and I think it's even on vinyl too. I'd rather you get an original, but I behoove you to at least attempt to listen to this album on YouTube, and I think you'll agree with me that Robert Gordon with Link Wray, Fresh Fish Special from 1978. Damn good album. I was pleasantly surprised. This is the front. This is the back. Let me tell you a little bit about this. This is on the Private Stock label. That's what it looked like back then. The Private Stock label, which of course was home to Frankie Valli and Blondie's first album, Private Stock. They also were a disco label too, though, but I digress. So, Robert Gordon, Link Wray. Robert Gordon was in the Tough Darts. It was a punk band. Started there in 70, but and of course Link Wray's been around since the 50s. Mr. Rumble, I showed you his 1971 excellent Polydor solo album. I also continue to behoove you to get that. But producer, and I hope I pronounced this right, Richard Gotterer, been around for a while. He ended up discovering him in Robert Gordon in 76. In late 76, he convinced him to hook up with Link Wray, and believe it or not, they cut a first album. This is the second album in 77. After Elvis's death, actually got some airplay, but the label also tried to make Robert Gordon the next Elvis. Oh boy. They made, like I said, they made 2 albums. The first in 77 after Elvis died. That, like I said, picked up airplay. The second album, this one here, also features the Jordanaires, Elvis's backing group, singing background on at least 5 tracks. They also covered Bruce Springsteen's Fire. Springsteen happens to play on this on keyboards. Later in 78, after this album, of course, was already out, Gordon kind of got his wish. He wanted to be on RCA Records. He got his wish, and he ended up signed to RCA for 2 albums, but instead of Link Wray joining him on the journey, it would end up being Chris Spedding. Excellent album. I behoove you to get this, or at least listen to it so you know what I'm talking about. Now, new subs. Era Landsman, Sam 8911SK, Halloween Fan Mark, Amorphous Audio, The Yeoman, and Mr. Colton Presley. Thank you for subbing to Psycho's Platters. We are still in the throes of our 500 subs contest, which will be running through the month of April. We're almost at the halfway point on that. I've seen many excellent videos, which I'll do another shout out again very soon. But like I said, go to that 500 sub thread and comment or shoot a video for me. I would love to see what you guys have got going. I think I have about a half a dozen people right now that have shot videos, and I think I have one person that did a comment. So excellent. So I'm not going to show you the address. I got some contest winnings. That's right. I belong to a raffle group, and I got this for, I can't remember if it was $1 or $2. It actually was posted 4 different times over a couple months. But I won this thing, and I'm happy to show you out of Flint, Texas. I'm not going to mention names. I got Pink Floyd Danish Trip. Yes, here's the front. Here's the back. This here was recorded in September 1967 in Denmark. I think Copenhagen, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to show you. Oh, this thing's beautiful looking. I can't wait to listen to this, honestly. I don't have a lot of Syd Barrett era stuff. I still would like a nice, clean, original copy of Piper at the Gates. I would love that. But, beautiful. Pink swirl. Yes! Pink swirl vinyl indeed. I know this album has been out in different forms, but it's very cool to have this. It says here, Pink Floyd live at the Star Club, Copenhagen, Denmark, September 13, 1967. Side 1, Reaction in G, Arnold Lane, 1 in a Million. Side 2, Matilda Mothers, Scream Thy Last Scream, and Astronomy Domine. Once again, like I said, very happy to have Danish Trip in my collection. And Bill, I'll mention at least his name, Bill, thank you for that as well. Commercials really quick. Wax Museum with Ronnie Dark and Night Owl Lounge with Mike Adams. Sunday night, 6 to 9 Central, 9 to 10 Central for Mike. Central Standards, you can listen on Uber stations or, on WVOA 87.7 FM out of Syracuse, New York. Also, Doug Fields, my friend, I hope you're getting better. I know he was having some issues, and I hope he doesn't get mad that I mentioned that. But, prayers, of course, continue to go out to him. And hopefully maybe he'll shoot a vinyl grotto soon as well. That would be very nice. Thrifty Music Collectors Group, Tim Smith and Company. Always a pleasure to catch the videos when I can on that. And, of course, the YouTube vinyl community. Without the YouTube vinyl community, we wouldn't be able to shoot this show or any of our shows, right, guys? That's how this works. I love you all. I really, really do. Up to 558 subs, guys. I have seen an inrush of new channels, and I still love the old ones. You guys, it's good. It's good that the VC keeps growing, and I think it's healthy. It really is. All right, guys, I'm done. I'll shut up. Take care. God bless. Rock on. I'm not sure what my next episode will be. I have a few things brewing. Take care.